I have a case study.
Okay.
And I was going to read it to you.
All right, so here we have Katie's case study.
All right. So students in a college class were assigned 2 teams and asked to submit 1 weekly homework answer set per team.
Each team had 4 members. Katie was happy with this arrangement. She contributed a lot during weeks when she had time,
And when she had a busy week, she was glad that her teammates were able to finish the work and submit it without much or any help from her. By midterm, her grade was 92%.
On the second midterm test, which was open note and timed, Katie had trouble with 2 questions, but she'd studied extensively from the homework submitted by her group. After struggling with the hardest question, she went back to the homework problem most like it and replicated the process, changing only the variables provided in the test question. 1 week later, Katie was informed she had been reported for cheating by the grader assigned to her section. She received an email that said, "You clearly collaborated with other students when taking this test. Your answers are not only incorrect, they are incorrect in very specific ways, and those incorrect methods and answers are far too similar to several other students to be coincidental. Therefore, the only possibility is that you cheated during the test and will receive a 0 on the test."
Academic dishonesty. Is it always what we assume it to be? Is it as black and white as catching one of your students red-handed, scribbling notes from their hand onto an exam? Some public universities have seen the amount of cases as much as double from the 2019 to 2020 school year, according to the Washington Post. Blog sites, auction websites, outsmarting the proctor. What's truly going on in this educational underworld? And better yet, how do you, as the instructor, do your job well without having to become a police in all this? Well, there's a lot to dissect in this complex issue, so we're breaking this one up into 3 episodes. We're going to cover ways in which students commonly cheat, what motivates a student to cheat, and what faculty's role, if any, can be in reducing the number of cases. But first, let's get our star players out on the field. I interviewed a total of 9 faculty and students to get a variety of perspective and insight on the issue. So you'll be hearing from Dr. Jeff Caulfield, who served as the Vice Provost for Academic Support and dealt with all academic integrity cases from 2013 to 2020. He's also currently a teaching professor of geological sciences here at S&T. Kira Courtois, a S&T sophomore, chemical engineering major. Dr. Chris Swinson, who handles much of the campus's plagiarism cases, and she's also the department chair and instructor for English and Technical Communication. Jalen Owens, also a S&T sophomore and civil engineering major. Dr. Matt Themgen, professor of biological sciences and award-winning instructor in the College of Arts, Sciences, and Business. Elizabeth Hoffer, a S&T graduate student in English and Technical Communication, and a Chi Omega alumna. And finally, research presented by the academic director for the Association of College and University Educators, Dr. Cindy Blackwell. Also, let me add a quick disclaimer that none of these students were admitting to or being accused of academic dishonesty in their interviews. They are simply sharing their opinions. So welcome to Cafe Creative Episode 1. My name is Victoria, and as an instructional developer here at Cafe, I wanted to hone in on our campus specifically and start by asking the question, where do you see cheating happening the most?
Where I see it is with plagiarism, right? Taking things directly from the internet. We do clickers, and so I've had people try to basically pretend to be somebody else, and so to get the points even though their friend didn't show up, and then sort of taking answers from one person and basically not plagiarizing the internet but plagiarizing a friend, or sort of passing answers through around a cohort. Where they will try to get away with it, where they think it's a gray area, but it's not a gray area necessarily for me, is they'll take somebody else's answers and then change a few words within it and then try to submit that as their own. The spirit of that is definitely cheating. I've seen it on lab reports.
Okay.
I have seen it on some short answer homeworks that I give where they have to generate the answer. I have seen this on actually online tests as well,
Okay.
where they have a separate sort of group me um, and so they're talking about things. And again, they think at times it's a gray area. I've defined things for the class very specifically.
I've had students on Instagram. Hey, everybody! I'm happy to write your philosophy or religion 101 papers. Give me a call. Just put it out there because they don't really realize what they're doing is wrong. They truly see this as helping their friends.
Usually, when they're extraordinarily wild, to use that, unusual, usually the vice chancellor of student affairs and I, we would share and talk to each other. And we would find out that this student has also been in trouble for other stuff.
I did hear stories that people would stick a file in one of their textbooks, and then they would go. It was an open book test, but this was in person. So they would bring their textbook, but then have basically the answers.
When it comes to files, are files good or are files evil? How much do they come into play when it comes to academic dishonesty? The term files, in this context, refers to a system used by most fraternities and sororities on campus where they collect and save any homework, quizzes, tests, or other materials from classes so as to help future Greek life members. Here's some of the subject uncovered with S&T graduate student and alum Elizabeth Hoffer. As a Chi Omega, she shares her perspective on how she saw files used during her career here as an undergrad student. Here's a look.
I definitely think that sometimes the file system is a gray area. I know I was telling you before, I had a class that had a quiz administered every single day at the beginning of class. And this particular professor didn't change the quiz questions hardly at all, if at all. So someone who'd taken the class before me had uploaded every single quiz, maybe missing a few here or there, but every single quiz for the most part was up there. So if I was worried about a topic, I could just go look at it.
And honestly, going up through college, we had people's back tests and, okay, this is the same type of answers. I do change my questions. Where I've been mixed about this is whether or not I should actually give out some back tests for people that don't have access to those test files.
There are measures that professors take to make sure that things that they don't want in the file system to get in there. So a lot of professors will say, okay, I'm giving you your tests to look at right now. You can come to my office to look at them later if you want, graded tests, of course. And then that's that. They keep them, burn them, I don't know, but we're not supposed to take them home. You can tell when that's the case because they'll have either no files, or you can tell that people would take a picture of them when they have them in class, even though they were explicitly told not to, and then upload them. And I don't think that professors maybe realize that too. It's not just tests. Everything they give us, quizzes, assignments, little things here and there, they're all able to be uploaded. Not all of them are uploaded graded, so you don't always know, was that the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. A lot of students, I would say most sorority or Greek life people, although I am coming more from just the Chi Omega side, most of the girls in the house do not use the file system to cheat. They will use it to look at what was done and then figure out if their work is correct, their process is correct, where they went wrong. But at the same time, if the same question was asked before and they're just checking their answers, they're pretty much ensuring that they'll get an A because they can go back and work through it.
About 15% of the population will never truly cheat. The rule followers, we color within the lines, we're scared to park illegally, that group. Then we've got another group, 15 or so percent of the population that will cheat even if they don't need to. But then what we're really focused on is the population in the middle there. That's 70%, as Dan Ariely, for those of you who follow Dan Ariely, he'll tell you that's 70% in there. Those are the students who we can really, really impact.
Now with COVID and online, it expanded.
Yeah.
And so I had
tremendously, or what would you say?
tremendously is what I mean. From my perspective, it happened in each one of my classes, and it was it was a problem in each one of the classes.
So we've heard from a national standpoint how dishonesty cases have risen, but what about the statistics for our campus specifically? According to our Office of Academic Support, there were 77 reported cases of academic dishonesty in the 2017 to 2018 school year. 53% of those cases were assignment misconduct. 20% were exam misconduct, and 27% toward plagiarism. Comparatively, the 2019 to 2020 school year had 85 reported cases, with 21% being assignment misconduct, 6% plagiarism, and a whopping 73% toward exam misconduct. While our cases overall have not so much as doubled from 2018 to 2020, misconduct on exams has risen over 50% from the cases reported. So when it comes to exams, how can the amount of dishonesty cases be reduced? Let's take a look.
They didn't cheat in a way that like a whole exam or it was just bits and pieces or one question or something that they were struggling with or a time commitment problem.
Who knows how, right? I've seen all kinds of situations, right? Who knows how they've stumbled into something or made a bad decision. I think a lot of times academic dishonesty cases come up because students are under stress of some kind. Right? They don't do it because they want to cheat you, the instructor, or they want to get one over on you. They're under some kind of stress.
From your experience being so old here, what motivates students to cheat?
Oh, stress. Stress for sure. It's almost never, I don't care about learning.
Really, it's just like a school like this, or like even back in high school, people think it's like the harder classes. So like here, like thermodynamics, like your calculuses, I would actually disagree. Is really like those classes, like I said, you can get away with it. Like this is an engineering school, so like your humanities, those type of things, because we're trying to be engineers or we're in STEM programs, so we don't see the value of those classes up front, or most people don't.
I almost never hear it from their major specifically. It's almost always something that they need to move on in their major, and it's a huge roadblock. I mean, that's why so many people drop out from my perspective.
I think it's kind of the desperation. I've seen a lot of desperation in people that resort to cheating. Some students have jobs, some students need to take care of siblings, some students need to take care of their parents. Some people have so many things going on in their life at once, where that one professor just assigns a huge load and they just don't have time. It's not even with huge loads of schoolwork from all these different professors. There are so many other things going on in students' lives, especially when it's expected that a student takes part in extracurricular activities.
And we're talking about stressful things, and earlier you would have thought that I was putting this all onto the students, that they overburden themselves. Well, I will actually say that the other side is that we all have pacings for our classes, which means that it turns out that the middle of the semester is the middle of the semester for everybody. So it turns out that if you have a mid-semester exam, they're all the same week, right? And so that, I understand, can put a lot of pressure on students. Right? I have 4 tests this week, right? You don't have anything before or anything after. They are going to have these points that even if they manage all of their time well, it's still going to be a really hard time for them, and that they might be tempted.
Do you think your time being here, have you seen that pressure change, or has it pretty much been the same on students of like the expectations and all that?
No, I've been here a long time, 34 years now. Mm-hmm. It's changed. It's changed for the worse. The emphasis on grades, the emphasis on I would say when I first started here in the 1980s, and I was a grad student in the early 80s, and I did my undergraduate work in the 1970s, we worried about grades, but it wasn't like you were expected. Nobody came out with a 4.0. Nobody. That wasn't an expectation. And now you see students coming in thinking, I got to get all A's. I got to get all A's. I got to get all A's. And we've seen it. There has been grade inflation. And when I first came here and I would go to a commencement exercise, there would be 2 or 3 students out of the entire graduation that were recognized for having a 4.0. And maybe we shouldn't have even been recognizing them, because that gave them, then other people are going, oh, I want to get that. But now there's, 20 or 30 or 40. And so that pressure has been on everybody. And the pressure's on us too. Like, students will come in and go, I can't get a C. And we're like, well, you get what you earn. And I think in elementary and high school, that shift has already occurred.
Grade inflation, stress, files, all these factors play into this complicated issue of students resorting to cheating. So what does the research show when it comes to how academic dishonesty could have been avoided in the first place? Are there practical things instructors like you can put in place to reduce cheating altogether? Stay tuned for episode 2, where we're going to look at processes for reducing cheating in the classroom. I'm Victoria, and I'll see you next time on Cafe Creative.